Welcome back. I am still alive. The road to Mallorca / Outlaw is finished, and I haven't done much training for the past 3 weeks, so when you have a YouTube channel that's largely training, you can imagine I've been a bit without content. So I thought, now that we are getting back into the swing of things, I've never really gone through how last season went, kind of numbers and stats, and I know people are definitely interested in that sort of stuff. So I think we're going to go home now, get a sort with a bit of food, and then I'm going to sit down and talk you through how the races went this year from a numbers point of view. So I'll see you at home. Right, 2020, that was an interesting season and an interesting year as well. I mean, it was only back in April that I was doing this. My 38 subscribers, thank you. And now, yeah, that's changed a little bit, so massive thank you to anyone who's subscribed to the channel. It does mean a lot, and it gives me kind of a lot of motivation to keep making videos like this. And hopefully I've got something of interest for anyone who's kind of interested in the numbers side of triathlon today, because you kind of see these results and it's good to know what kind of is necessary from a performance point of view to get you there. So I'm going to go through the 2 races of this season. I mean, that's all we had, so there's not too much, but hopefully these numbers give you an idea of, and the training associated, kind of what's required to race at the level I'm at, which is a good level. It's not where I want to be, but yeah, it is what it is. So the first race, Helvellyn, the swim was actually 1,771 meters according to my watch. That's pretty exact, but that's what my watch came in out as. 22:52, so 118 per 100 meters. It's kind of ballpark open water swimming. You kind of don't know what the length is. You don't know how good a route that you've taken is. Yeah. You can't really read too much into it. When you swim against other people, your sort of ability, then you can kind of gauge yourself against them, but when it's just you and your watch, it is what it is. The bike was 59.4 kilometers, 998 meters of elevation. It took me 1 hour and 42 minutes. Average power was 290 watts, normalized power 315 watts. There's quite a big swing there, which I think the struggle climb and a few of the other digs really kind of split the average power and the normalized power apart, where I was going quite significantly over threshold for periods of time, and then also recovering well underneath. Heart rate for that was 160, but it was a cold day, and I also bike quite conservatively. In hindsight, I didn't go that hard up the struggle, where I saw I kind of lost like 1.5 minutes to the pro guys that were going up there. I think they were racing each other, so that makes a difference, but I probably could have gone a bit harder up there. However, I was biking conservatively because I did not want to have bad legs on that run. And it was 15K with 988 meters of elevation gain, which is ridiculous for a run. Like, tri runs are normally flat sort of things along a seafront, and that much elevation is just insane. It took me 1 hour and 25 minutes to run what is basically 9 miles. Average heart rate of 160, 5:45 per kilometer. But I was only, I think, 7 minutes off the winning times in that, which, being as I'd never done any real trail running before, kind of that sort of standard of trail running anyway, with ridiculous elevation gains, I was happy with. Then on to Outlaw. This race I ended up coming 9th in. I've probably seen the video if you're subscribed. If you haven't, I'll stick that up here somewhere. The swim was shortened because it was flipping cold. It was like 11 degrees water temperature, 750 meter swim, which works out for me doing a 10-minute swim is about 1 minute 20 per 100 meters, but that feels quite slow because I was only within 10-15 seconds of the front pros there, which kind of gives me confidence that my swim is definitely where it needs to be. I didn't suffer from the cold too much, and then it was quite a long run into T1, which was all right. I normally feel bad, but I've started wearing earplugs open water swimming this year, and my dizziness has just gone, which is definitely recommended open water swimming earplugs. If you feel dizzy when you get out of the water, they've really helped me. The bike was 92.8 kilometers, took me 2 hours, 16 minutes and 21 seconds. I've got all the numbers here, by the way, I'm not just really good with numbers. That was, so I lapped, because it's really hard to gauge your power off of like the total time, because imagine coming in and out of transition, you're putting your shoes in, your feet in your shoes, you're faffing around with corners, there might be other people around, so I kind of lapped from, I ended up capturing a 2 hours, 11 minutes lap where I wasn't slowing down in transition or coming out of transition. So that was a 41.5 kilometer an hour average speed lap, which is 4.23 watts per kilo for me, which was 311 watts, normalized power 322 for 2 hours 10, which was an all-time power PB for me. And to do that during a race was great. I mean, my heart rate averaged 160 for that, so it wasn't kind of a ridiculous effort, but then it also was. I got off the bike and onto the run, and yeah, I really knew about it. You kind of know from the first step if it's going to be a good run or not, and yeah, it was a long half marathon. Hour and 22, I think it took me, just 3:55 per kilometer, and I couldn't get my heart rate up above, I think average heart rate was 156 for that, which is pretty low by running standards. So that was definitely food for thought. I've had a good catch up with my coach Chris. We've been through what went well, what didn't. Although I ran not great off of that, it was always the plan to overbike a bit and see what that did for the run. We kind of now know that the run needs more work. I had that great PB for me running under 16 minutes for the first time for 5K back in, I think it was April, May. But it's still a work in progress, and now I think we need to figure out, with the limited training time I've got, because I have probably maxed out at about 16, 17 hours a week training with the job I've got, so we need to figure out what's going to get more bang for buck running. So is that going to be absolute running speed, or is that going to be, do I need to practice more running after I've expended a certain amount of energy in the same way that you would in an Ironman? So go out and do a bike session where you do 2,500 kilojoules of work and then try and do some hard running off it just to get the body used to that. So I think those two things we need to figure out, kind of which is going to have more return for training investment, I guess, and figure out what the plan is for next year. However, from that outdoor result, I'm pretty happy with where my swim and my bike are at. My power on the bike was, yeah, that's the right place. It doesn't need to be more than that. I think if I was in a group, it would probably be less, because you've got other people, and even when you draft legal distance of, I think it's 12 meters, it's still a benefit. And with the reduced bike power being in a group as well, you've got to wonder, would the run have been better as well? But I mean, it is what it is when I'm not racing in the pro field, so that's kind of that. And in a good place swim-wise as well. So I heard a few people ask me kind of if I'm going to be getting a pro license off the back of any of those results. Number one, none of those results were fast enough, so I think I was 1 minute out on the outlaw time to get a pro license, which is pretty close. But I have taken a pro license before, back in 2017. So I won the English Middle Distance Championships when they were held at Vitruvian in 2016. Thought, cool, yeah, flying. I'll go do pro half Ironman distance and do really well. Got to my first races and was just kind of making up the places, really. I wasn't competitive. I didn't actually finish either of them. I ended up breaking my wrist in one and then racing the next one with a broken wrist. Then had a whole host of time where I thought I had a sprained wrist, but then I think it was like 8 months later, turned out to be broken. It was a bit messed up, surgery. So I haven't had a chance to kind of race enough to get my pro license back again. But this time I want to be confident enough that when I go into a pro race, I'm not going to be making up the numbers. I'm actually going to be kind of there to try and win the thing, not just show up and get 10th. Like, I don't really want to do that. It won't be fun, and I know where I kind of need to be, and I'm not there yet. So that's still very much a work in progress to get towards that. The other big thing that I'm doing this winter to address my running and I guess just kind of performance in general is we've invested in a few more weights for our home gym setup, so I'm going to be getting freaking massive over the winter. So we're going to be doing consistent gym sessions at home. We've got like a squat rack, we've got a 20 kilo barbell, we've got a few weights to go on that now, so I should be able to keep myself in a good sort of condition where I can handle a bit more volume. I think that's another piece of the running puzzle as well. So that's another one of the big focuses, and over the last few weeks I have done, I think this last week now is the most training I've done. I've done about 8 hours of training. Before that, a couple hours a week, maybe a few runs. I've still had a bit of a plantar niggle, which I know Catherine mentioned in the Outlaw X video. That's taken its time to heal itself, but I haven't been rushing it. I've been doing very little, to be honest. So yeah, I think another week of sort of chilling, making sure I still tick those gym sessions off, training when I feel like it, and then after that, back into structured training for 2021. Currently I've got a couple half marathons planned in, so there's one at Dorney Lake, I think on the 13th of December. And then I'm looking at maybe doing the Cambridge or Brighton half marathons. I think they're like February time next year. So that will give us an indication of where my kind of flat out running speed is when it's no bike involved. And then after that, there's Outlaw half, which is a week after Mallorca 70.3, which has now been rescheduled to May next year. So I'm going to be doing that first, and then the weekend after Outlaw, if I can get a place, because it's looking pretty tight for places at the minute. I think a lot of people have obviously moved their entry over to this next year from last year, so there's only a few spaces left. So fingers crossed I can get in that, and then it will be getting my training load up nice and high beforehand, so I'm really fit, so I can handle 2 races in what is essentially 7 days. And I think from there I'll be able to gauge if I want to kind of get a pro license, if I want to do more races pursuing that, or if I need to do more work, because I'm not rushing this. I'm enjoying it, kind of the process, and yeah, it's not the kind of thing you can rush anyway. It takes time and it takes the right training, and I think more experience is never going to be a bad thing. So that's pretty much what's been happening, what is happening, what's going to happen. This type of video, I mean, you're probably more used to seeing me at the other end of the camera while running, cycling, which will return. Daylight is less than it was, so the picture quality might be reduced, but hopefully we'll be able to manage. Hopefully it's been an enjoyable video of sorts. It's a bit different. Let me know in the comments, is this kind of something you'd want to see more of, less of, interesting once a year, which basically means less of. But yeah, massively appreciative again for everyone that's subscribed. The channel growth over the past 6 months has been ridiculous, and I'm really excited to keep it going. So yeah, thanks for watching. Drop a like, comment if you've got anything to ask at all, and I'll see you in the next one.